We could just get to totally, defecate all over Russell Wilson. Welcome in to the Warzone Sports Network's new show, Sports Dummies. I'm sure we're going to come with some fun theme music at some point, but this is an idea that Joe and I really like the idea of just acknowledging the fact that we're just a couple guys who like sports and we're going to be kind of dumb in our takes and our talks. We appreciate you. If it's your first time here at Warzone Sports Network, please subscribe on YouTube. Also, you can find this on all the podcast platforms. We're going to try and make sure that these are uploaded every Friday, so it could be there when you're at the gym, dropping a deuce on Saturday. Who knows? You can take us wherever you want. Be dumb with us. Comment. We love to interact and go that route too. But as you can see, couple of AFC West fans here. We're going to be getting into Russell Wilson coming to the AFC West and the greatest collection of quarterbacks to ever play under one division. Aaron Rodgers sticking around, maybe some Mike Williams talk, Dak Prescott, and the fumblings that are happening in the Dallas Cowboys organization, and Deshaun Watson, Calvin Ridley. Let's get into all of it. And again, if you're with us live right here on YouTube, put it into the chat. Joe Morley, how you doing, brother?
I'm doing great, Tony. It started out as a normal day, and then bam, the NFL took us by storm. Like everybody's been waiting for Major League Baseball to say, "Hey, we're going to play this year. We're out of it." And the NFL said, "Screw MLB. We're here, and we're here to stay all year long." And here's the biggest news. And then not only did they hit us with one news, bam, they hit us back-to-back big quarterback news. And I want to start with Russell Wilson. I'm sure you want to start with her too. If people can't see us, if they're listening to the podcast, they can't see us. But if you're watching us on YouTube, you can see us. Tony's wearing Charger sweater. I'm wearing a Raider sweater. So we're already AFC West. We're two AFC West fans going at it. We're probably biased, but that's why we're the sports dummies, right? Tony. So I didn't believe it. Somebody told me, they go, "Hey, Russell Wilson," because I was at work today. They go, "Russell Wilson to the Broncos." I go, "Bull crap." And then they go, no, it happened. So I pulled it up and I was like, oh, it did happen. I want to know what they gave up. Tony, 2 first-round picks, 2 second-round picks, Noah Fant, Drew Lock, Shelby Harris, all that for Russell Wilson. And what they get, a 4th-round pick back?
Yeah, that's they got 2 firsts, a 5th, and 4 players. 3, I mean, if you think Drew Lock's a player, I mean, come on, let's be real.
But let's not crap on Drew Lock either. It's not like he wasn't a top pick that could have been in a bad situation. You don't like him. Just because you don't like him doesn't mean that Pete Carroll can't do something with him.
Okay, I hear you. And I would love to acknowledge you in the room, and your thoughts are respectful, but no, they're dumb with the consistency of this show. Drew Lock has shown us what he's going to be. You think he's going to go to Seattle and find that gear, that he's going to be like Favre was in Atlanta and then go to Green Bay and turn into a Hall of Famer? I'm going to go ahead and say no.
Okay. Looking at this trade on paper.
Yeah.
Before we get into it, just who won the trade?
The Broncos dominated this trade.
Hell no.
Yeah, it's not even a question in my mind.
No. Okay, Tony. I just posted this too, and you're acting like the Broncos were 1 player away from being a great team this year. This isn't the Rams from last year where all they need is 1 quarterback. You're adding Russell Wilson to a team that needs a lot more pieces. This defense isn't going to be as great as it was. Vic Fangio's out. You're bringing in Nathaniel Hackett that we don't even know if he's going to be a great head coach. And now you're like, here's Russell Wilson. Let's see if he can still do this. And not to mention, they still have a bad offensive line in Denver as well.
Okay, all of those points are valid. And I don't want to make it sound like the Seahawks got hustled or whatever, because when I look at a relationship, right, if Russ doesn't want to be there, then you need to move on. And they got adequate value for him. Who knows? They could use these picks and go out and try and go after another guy. I don't know who that would be, but somebody that they might think could be their future or whatever it is. So, like, you in this league to win, you need a quarterback. You need a top 10 guy who can be there mixed with a defense. Drew Lock was not going to get the Broncos over the hump. It was damaged goods, too many problems. If Nathaniel Hackett really thought that Drew Lock was good enough, don't you think he would have been like, yeah, if Aaron Rodgers doesn't come, he's the guy we're going to roll with. I never even heard him acknowledge Drew Lock as a human being, like from any podium or write or print or anything. So like, he was never going to be the guy there. I don't think he's the guy in Seattle. I could see your boy Trubisky going up there and playing for Pete, a guy that he could control like a puppet and say, hey, you only get to throw the ball when I say you might have some Mac Jones games and there is no wind, homie. You might only get to throw the ball 3 times. We're going to put the ball in the belly of Chris Carson if he can get back onto the field, or Rashad Penny, or whoever else we got back. We can wrap it up in Alex Collins' dreadlocks and let him carry the rock. But Pete Carroll wants to play what he deemed to be his most successful route, which was defense and running the football back in the Legion of Boom days, right? He wants to go back that route. Russell wants to go another way. Russell now gets an offensive head coach. Russ shows up. They have weapons. It's not like Cortland Sutton has been, in my estimation, underused. Jerry Jeudy, one of the best route runners, and has untapped potential because he's been hamstrung by the quarterback play. And Javonte Williams, who you and I both think is like the next stud running back in the NFL. He's going to a team that has a good offense, and even if they have an average defense, it still has like Simmons in the secondary there and Patrick Surtain. Like, they got enough weapons on the defensive side of the ball to be competitive. Right now, as a Chargers fan, I'm over here blowing smoke up the Broncos' ass. I ain't afraid of it, though, because I have Justin Herbert, and he's better than Russell Wilson. And soon everybody will be on board with me when they realize he's better than Patrick Mahomes. So I still have the guy in the AFC West. I just think from a Broncos standpoint, you are better off with a top 10 guy, or at least roughly a top 10 guy, than without. And is Russ's play style, does it translate to another 10 years? Probably not, but another 5 years? You could probably realistically see his athletic ability not falling off enough to where he could be a top 10 quarterback for another 5 years, barring some major leg injury.
And, and like I said, does Russell Wilson go into the Broncos as an AFC West fan, like a fan of the AFC West, as a fan of the Raiders? Does it scare me? Absolutely not. Like, I'm just looking at it like, cool. They finally caught up with the rest of the division. They finally got a quarterback. They finally got somebody that could at least keep them in the games. But am I scared of the Denver Broncos? Do I think the Denver Broncos are going to come out of the basement of the AFC West with Russell Wilson? No. Where'd Seattle end up this year? And I'm looking at Russell Wilson's numbers, and they're good, Tony, but were they blown up because he was playing in a bad division before the 49ers and the Rams and Arizona started to build up over there? Like, come on. He's 32 years old. Some of the best days are probably behind him, Tony. And I understand the Broncos needed to make the move. The Broncos, hey, look, there's a franchise trying to sell their team right now. Might as well get more money for him, have a big franchise quarterback right there. But I don't know. I'm looking at the deal, and I'm like, okay, with the number 9 pick, what could you have got with the number 9 pick? They could have probably got one of these quarterbacks, which everybody's saying the quarterback class is down, so maybe they didn't fall in love with one of the quarterbacks at the combine, but they could have got one of these guys and had a young quarterback to move on with in the future. I don't know. I'm liking the Seattle part of it. I understand that you don't like Drew Lock, and I'm not saying Drew Lock is going to go over there and change. I say maybe Pete Carroll can get his hands on him, but he's a stopgap. I want to see what Seattle does there. But they still have weapons up there, and like you said, he wants to go back to that old school pound the rock and do all that and play defense. So I'm for it. I think Seattle. I think right now I'm leaning towards Seattle winning the trade.
So I go back to this. It's not like Seattle just got bamboozled or anything. They got back really good compensation to rebuild, because if we're looking at it from a standpoint, was Seattle going to win the division with Russ at QB this year? Probably not. So if you run him out there again, now he's a year older. You still haven't won the division. He's a little beat up. He looks bad. Maybe you don't get all of this. You don't get 4 players. Like Shelby Harris, I make fun of it. I guess he's a pretty good defensive tackler or whatever. I would gladly throw him in any deal for Deshaun Watson or Russell Wilson or Aaron Rodgers, right? Like he would have been in any trade and I wouldn't let lost any sleep over it. We don't lose sleep over Drew Lock. I don't lose sleep over Noah Fant. Like tight ends now, like Dalton Schultz or whatever his name is from the Cowboys is going to get a payday. So you can find tight ends. It's Noah Fant did not turn out to be Gronk like many people thought that he might be. So like, and maybe again, that was a factor of the quarterback situation. He's now going with his quarterback. It's not like he's staying and he gets to find out if life with Russ can be any better. Although Russ doesn't seem to like tight ends. Jimmy Graham was so-so, and Gerald Everett didn't really do much when he got to Seattle last year either. So like Seattle didn't necessarily get like the short end of the stick, but they are trying to recover from the fact that their amazing defense is aged or gone. Like Bobby Wagner's the last player that they have there. And then they traded for Jamal Adams. He's been kind of a bust if we're being nice. And they lost all those first round picks for him. So it's like, what are they going to do? Keep Russ and be average in a really tough division or move on from Russ? But what I'm saying is the Broncos get a quarterback that can make them relevant. They're going to have a puncher's chance, if not better than that, depending on what they do in the rest of free agency, to maybe fill a hole here on the offensive line or add a player on defense that might be able to be there. Von Miller says he wants to come back. Maybe he's got a little juice left on third down. Maybe things work out with Bradley Chubb. Like the Broncos still have pieces, and now when you have that top 10 quarterback, you're just a more complete team. So they won.
Yeah, maybe people want to go to Denver and play, huh? Maybe they're like, yeah, we'll play in that thin air up there. We'll go up there and can't breathe while we're running. We'll play there.
Well, I just want to say this lastly about the Seahawks, and I text this to you guys as a joke, but Jamal Adams has to be looking around and being like, it's Groundhog's Day. I woke up and I'm still on the Jets, but I'm 3,800 miles away, like from New York. He's on the Jets West now. This team is exactly what he left in New York and bellyache to get his way out of. So I can't wait for that wheel to get super squeaky, and he's going to need some grease from Pete Carroll. So he could be another player that they look around and say, hey, does anybody want to give us a third-round pick for Jamal Adams? Which, in retrospect, you'd look at that and you'd be like, oh, they got screwed on that trade.
Yeah, and then, I don't know. See, maybe they were impressed with Geno Smith last year, and they were like, yes, this is our guy. I don't know. I'm just messing around.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
All right, Tomlin, Mason Rudolph. Yeah, that's a good call.
But we were talking about it. We've been talking about it for almost, since the beginning of last season and then this year about the Seattle situation. And we said it was going to bend or break, and we called it. And, if you go back and look at some of our old stuff, that we said one of these two would not be on the Seattle Seahawks this year. I was going for the Pete Carroll route because I thought there was no way that you trade your franchise quarterback because of the backlash that you would get. But Pete Carroll ends up winning out. So Pete Carroll took a lot he took a lot of heat from former players when he backed Russell Wilson and made Russell Wilson the guy in Seattle and went this passing route, gave up the Legion of Boom and all this and gave him the big contract. Now he's giving up on Russell Wilson and he's sending him out. Is there a lot of pressure on Pete Carroll now?
There's some pressure on him, but it's a weird situation. Like since Mr. Allen passed away, it's John Schneider and Pete Carroll pulling the strings. Like as soon as Pete was at the combine the other day and he said, we have no intention of trading Russell. I was like, you have every intention of trading Russell Wilson. Like it's not, you're just looking for the right dance partner. That's what it comes down to. Like who's really out there. Now, since Russell has a no trade clause, I think that maybe Washington probably could have offered some nicer pieces. I bet you Carroll would have went there and said, hey, I'd love to have Montez Sweat on my defense and maybe bring me Landon Collins. Like I could use him on my defense better than he's been being used over there. Like I'm sure he would have loved to have gone that route. And it's not like he would have asked for Taylor Heineke or something.
I read that report that Washington offered more draft picks and probably a better deal overall, but they didn't want to leave him in the NFC.
But that doesn't matter because Russ can say no. And so even if the Commanders come with more, Russ has to look around and say, I don't want to play. Russ wants stability in a strong organization. The Broncos are going to be under new ownership, but he knows they have John Elway. He knows how that organization works. It is not like if you go to Washington, you got to deal with Daniel Schneider and like this. The other thing, the picks too that they got, you guys were dealing with unknowns. We're dealing with potential like bustable players. Like we get a known commodity that we think can be good. If you think Russell Wilson is just done and after one injury-plagued season, he'll no longer be a guy who throws for 4,500 yards and 35 touchdowns and can lead a team, then yeah, Seattle clearly won. But I would make this trade all day, and if I was on the Seattle side, I would have kept Russ and I would have let go of Pete because I would much rather have my quarterback than a 70-year-old bubblegum chewing head coach. And I love Pete Carroll. He's fun, a lot of energy, good at the podium. But I'm choosing young talent on the field over, old, excitable gentlemen.
And then, yeah, I would have done the same thing. I would have got rid of Carroll. But I thought they would at least go out there and say, hey, once we traded Russell Wilson, that we'll go out there and at least like keep our franchise, our running back in Penny, and they didn't even do that. I thought Penny would at least be under deal by now, but they haven't done that. We got a couple guys in our chat. If you guys are listening on the podcast or watching live on YouTube, 302 Birds says they're just passing through and they want to say hi. Seattle won the trade. Station of Sports Media said Seattle won the trade. So they're on my side, Tony. Commanders would have got a great deal.
Hey, Station of Sports Media, who are you a football fan of? I'm just curious.
Yeah, I don't know if I could put Pete Carroll in the top 10 anymore. I would have to go through my list. That's actually a good list that we should probably make one of these times, Tony, of our top 10 coaches in the NFL, and see if Pete Carroll.
That's so weird. It's such a weird list because you would find people that'd be like, "Well, Matt LaFleur's had 13 winning seasons or whatever." If you look at Pete Carroll's coaching record in Seattle without Russell Wilson as the starter, it's really bad. Like. He was part of the organization that made a deal to bring in Matt Flynn. Now, I applaud Pete for realizing Russell was the better option, even though they had just signed Matt Flynn. But, like, we're acting like Pete Carroll is super amazing outside of, like, a 3 or 4 year run that Russell was also a part of. I think a lot of his early success obviously can be contributed to the fact that he had an amazing defense. Saints fan. All right. I'm curious to know what your Saints are going to do.
And that's another thing I forgot to mention. Seattle's taking $26 million of dead money this year on this deal. So they're basically having to pay Russell Wilson $26 million to go play for the Denver Broncos.
But Seattle's still going to be competitive, just like they were last year with Geno Smith, because they're a well-coached football team.
Yeah. And they still have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. They're still the sixth most salary cap money to spend.
Yeah, Sports Station Media said we suck and started laughing as he's talking about his Saints. Joe Morley loves to stick it to the Saints. And I'll say this: Sean Payton he was basically captaining the Titanic, and he was just like, "Oh, there's an iceberg coming." He took a life raft and was like 100 miles away, and was like, "They got cap issues." Like, I'm not really sure how much I love this Dennis Allen promotion. No quarterback. Alvin Kamara's like in some hot water. It's Mike Thomas.
Paid the Saints.
Yeah, it's a real rocky road for Station of Sports Media.
Started paid the Saints last season, and we went through the season, and it just came alive. It came alive, and Sean Payton said, "I'm out of here. Peace out." Another breaking news, Tony.
Yep.
And this wasn't a surprise. This is your childhood team and one of your favorite players to root for, Aaron Rodgers, signed a new deal, 4 years, $200 million. And we talked about this before. We said Aaron Rodgers more than likely was going to go back to the Packers, everything that we heard. It came true. If this if this guy, and I was going to call him a mofo, but if this guy, he's talking about, I want to win. I want a winning team. But then you go out and you sign the biggest quarterback contract that you can. That's not helping your team. You just screwed over the Green Bay Packers for the next couple of years and kept your old ass there. I'm sorry, but Aaron Rodgers, that's ridiculous.
So I agree. He talks about not wanting to be dramatic, except everything he does has amazing undertones and overtones of drama in every word that he says. I've been saying this for years. He just wants people to love him and show him love. Even after the announcement came out, then the Russ news breaks and everything is Russ. Like all the sports channels take over because it's Russell has been gone to a new team. Who's in the trade, the Broncos, whatever. Aaron then has to tweet in the middle of it and be like, the reporting isn't quite accurate and I haven't signed, but yes, I look forward to playing there next year. It's like he needs you to know that like, hey, stay tuned to me, keep loving me. There's more information coming about me and my contract. And the idea that like when you get to the end of your career, I feel like you almost need to be more team aware of what's around you, right? You want more help. You want to win. Signing a record-breaking deal at the end, and I was talking to people about this, like the Kobe Bryant situation. Like Kobe took huge money at the end of his career, and the Lakers were extremely bad. Now, Aaron Rodgers is still good enough to keep the Packers afloat in an awful division, but like this is such a selfish move. Now they've had to franchise tag his favorite, best receiver on the team. And now they have to work out that, make sure that he's not like unhappy there. They still need to work things out with Jair Alexander. They're going to have to cut talent. I would assume it's going to be a younger roster of sorts, but he'll be happy. He'll get his way and he'll have many scapegoats. The team, we just, like the team wasn't strong enough or we didn't have the fans will come. Well, we didn't have a top 10 defense. Well, you're paying your quarterback $51 million so that he can, grease his top knot on his head and be out there like looking like fake John Wick. I'm over Aaron Rodgers.
Over the cap hasn't been able to put the exact numbers in because nobody knows the exact numbers and the years and the cap hit and all that for Aaron Rodgers right now. We just know it's 4 years, $50 million, and then it's like $150 million guaranteed or something like that. They got to go and figure it out. But as of right now, they put the Devontae Adams franchise tag in there at $20 million. They still have Green Bay Packers $45 million, close to $46 million over the cap. So that, like you said, they're going to have to either ask people to take pay cuts, restructure a lot of deals, or just cut some great players in Green Bay just because Aaron Rodgers' old ass decided to stay there and ruin them. And now look at Jordan Love going, hey, what about me? What's up with me?
Yes. Just real quick, anybody listening to the audio version on the podcast, we are live over on YouTube. Go and subscribe so you can jump in the comments. Felke, who is one of my favorite people that I've met in the last year, says who's going to win the quarterback battle in Seattle, Geno Smith or Drew Lock, and he's got his hard-earned Canada cash on Geno Smith.
Now that's a quarterback battle to watch.
That to me is kind of funny and interesting. I think Drew Lock would get the nod because you want to find out if you can get something out of that pedigree that he was there. And then somebody asked who we think they'll draft. I think Pete might like somebody like Sauce Gardner, right? The big corner. He can play press coverage. He can be physical. He can play there. Or maybe he looks defense. At like an edge rusher. Maybe Kayvon Thibodeau goes that late. But I think it's somebody to kind of take over because Bobby Wagner's almost gone. But I think Pete would definitely be going defense with that 9th pick. It all just depends on who's going to be there. Oh, I got a burner account?
Stations of sports media with the Seattle. I think everybody would think that, they're going to go quarterback, but I think they go defense. I think best available defensive player at number 9 is where they go.
I think they're going to get Desmond Ridder, the guy from Cincinnati. I think he's kind of low key got some Dak Prescott vibes to me, where it's like he's a little bit older. He seems really mature every time I heard him being interviewed, and he's a pretty good football player. Like when you go and look at it, he looks like he could step into a situation and use his athletic ability and you just kind of go that way, sort of like Andy Dalton-esque. I don't want to say that he could be like a franchise quarterback without seeing him play in the NFL, but like I think that you could get him in the second or third round of the draft. Why use number 9? Pete Carroll's a defensive guy. He's going to get himself they've had trouble with pass rushers. They had to sign that dude Dunlap off the streets a couple years ago to try and get any sense of a pass rush. He's going to get Trayvon Walker from Georgia or somebody like that can bring the heat. My burner account throwing out some love for Devondre Campbell. I really hope he's our middle backer next year. Like I want somebody next to Kaiser White just hunting Raiders and just crushing them.
So we had the big 2 quarterback news. We had Russell Wilson to the Broncos, and I don't know who's doing this. Russell Wilson to the Broncos. We had Aaron Rodgers staying put. Then today is the franchise tag deadline, Tony. So you saw a lot of people get franchised. I don't know why teams wait till the last moment. We all know they're going to franchise them, and then you do it. So I don't know if you saw this. Jesse Bates, the safety from the Bengals. Njoku from the Browns, a tight end. Dalton Schultz, who you mentioned earlier from the Cowboys, he got his franchise tag. Devontae Adams, of course. Cam Robinson, the tackle from Jacksonville, got his second one. Orlando Brown, the offensive tackle from the Chiefs. Mike Gesicki, the tight end from the Dolphins. J.C. Jackson did not get franchise tag. Chris Godwin got his, and that's it.
So there's a couple interesting ones on there. The Cam Robinson one sticks out to me because that makes me think they might go the Aiden Hutchinson route. If they franchise him, it's a pretty heavy tackle draft. You could then go and get a tackle in the second round and take that. Just first quick thought, or you could really bolster that offensive line and bring the kid from Alabama and have Cam Robinson there and invest in that offensive line. I don't think they trade out because you can get a really solid football player, and I don't think anybody's trading up to number 1 because there's no must-have quarterback this year. Unless the hype on Malik Willis just goes out of control and it's like the Saints and the Steelers fighting to get to number 1 or whatever to get Malik Willis, but I can't see it. But I could definitely see the Jaguars, if they franchise that Cam Robinson, then maybe they do that. The Godwin thing is also interesting. Too many injuries, and there's just a huge question mark at quarterback. Like, do you really need to franchise a guy if you're going to float Kyle Trask or Blaine Gabbert out there? Like, give me a break. You could. It doesn't matter who you have at receiver.
Jerry Rice loves Blaine Gabbert. He's the future.
I guess whatever. And
Mike on the mic is saying Aiden Hutchinson will be the number 1 overall pick. Dalton Schultz is replaceable. I don't know. Tony, like you said, you were saying tight ends are kind of replaceable, so you're along with it.
Wait, so they franchised Schultz? Did I miss that one?
Yeah, they did.
Oh, wow.
So he's going to make that's a franchise tag for tight ends is $10.9 million.
See, I'm kind of good with them doing that with Schultz. I do see what Felke is saying, though, because I kind of secretly, if we don't get another pass rusher, like if Gregory is in that $7 million range, I wouldn't mind seeing him in a Chargers uniform. And I think it's harder to replace that. He's just been underwhelming since he's been in Dallas. So I don't know. Like the Cowboys just have so many issues. The Cowboys they're so bad. I was arguing with Mike earlier about Dak already having to restructure, and I get everything Mike is saying. It just looks bad. It's like you're already trying to bail water in the first year of his contract to create this and that and whatever else. Keeps putting mock trade in there, but then not putting anything. Pats get Mike Evans. Okay.
Oh, he's putting it in there. So
I see.
The media is putting a trade in there of Mike Evans to where? Oh, to the Patriots, and for a first round. No, you're gonna have to give up more than that.
Well, I don't know. Mike Evans. I don't know about that.
Mike, would you do Mike Evans right now for a first round pick?
Yeah.
No, I wouldn't.
I mean, how much are wide receivers really getting now? Like, you got 2 firsts for a quarterback. You're giving up more than a first round pick for a wide receiver?
Why
I
not?
wouldn't.
This is
I think,
Mike Evans, the only man to go 8 years in a row, 8 seasons in a row with 1,000 yards receiving.
yeah, that's great, but he's also a bigger body. They tend to break down. He has no real separation, so he needs a lot. He
Yeah,
needs some jump ball
talking about big
ability.
bodies for what's up?
I mean, he did smoke our guy Jalen Ramsey in that and a
Tom
second
Brady's
round
last
pick.
pass in the NFL went where?
Maybe he's got some sneaky speed on him.
To the house. To the house.
I would like this. I wouldn't be mad at this trade either way if they did that. But I don't know what the Bucks be doing. Godwin's injury history is just too much for me. It's kind of Mike and I have been we've been talking over the Mike Williams contract today, and I don't love it. I'll save that for our nuts and bolts show at some point. But I like Mike Williams, the player. He's fun. Just average of $20 million a season. It makes me nervous.
But that, and that's another thing that we could talk about another time is these salaries. And the more the salary cap goes up, the more the salaries go up of the players go up and the quarterbacks. And I know that they want to get to each position being a certain percentage of the salary cap, but I mean, come on, are we really going to pay wide? Is that like that's the new norm now? Is paying wide receivers $20 million and then hoping they stick around for a certain amount of time, but it hasn't been working out. History hasn't been working out that they stay healthy after they get these big contracts. And that's what scares me about those positions. I don't mind paying a quarterback as much anymore because they're making rules that the quarterbacks don't get hit and they're sticking around longer than age 40, but it's crazy.
Yeah, I think I've always kind of been in favor of having the QBs on a separate salary cap. That to me is interesting.
I do like that
Mock trade. Saints get Jimmy G. 49ers get a second round pick and Ooh. Yeah, I like that for the Saints. I like that for both sides. If I was the Saints, I don't know if I'd give up a second for Jimmy G. He's got 1 year on his deal. He'd have to want to be like, and then you just don't know. I don't know what kind of coach Dennis Allen is because he coached for the Raiders. Like that's a hard. Anybody who's
I like Dennis Allen.
You like Dennis Allen?
Yeah, I think he got a bad rap with the Raiders, but I think he's a little bit more mature. He's going to get a bad rap with the Saints because they have a horrible cap and they're going to have a horrible team. But I like what he did. And look what he did with that defense. Like he made that Saints defense pretty damn solid. But I did like him at that time. And he did good with the Broncos when he was there before with the Broncos defense. And then he went to the Raiders. And, of course, he took on a bad team with the Raiders. I'm not going to hurt him for that. But everybody deserves a second chance. And why not with the Saints on a team that's going to be depleted and with nothing? And so, I don't know. Some people are picking the Saints. No, they're not. I'm just kidding. They're going to win the division. Mike on the Mike Sports is saying on our YouTube, he's saying who the Raiders going to go after a number one wide receiver because everybody was thinking Devontae Adams was never going to hit the market. Everybody who's out there that thought Devontae Adams at one point was going to hit the market as a free agent, you're now a sports dummy because you're dumb. It was never going to happen. It was never going to happen, right? Like to trick yourself into thinking that a top player like that would ever hit the market, it doesn't happen anymore with the franchise tag. I've been saying it all along. The Raiders are going after Allen Robinson. I think Allen Robinson or DJ Chark will be a Raider by when the season opens up.
DJ Chark is the player that I prefer just based on contract, production, his past history of being able to perform with lesser quarterbacks. So he should fit right in the Vegas area there with you. RC, what's going on? Yeah, I'd like to hear if you're pissed about J.C. Jackson not being back there and what's going on with your.
And a lot of people are making a big deal about now that Russell. I'm going to talk because we talked about Russell Wilson. Now that Russell Wilson is part of the Broncos, I think it changes the Raiders' offseason. because the Raiders were going to go in there and looking for wide receivers, and they should. They need a wide receiver, but they won last year and they moved the ball last year without wide receivers or with the wide receivers that they had. They have solid wide receivers, not great wide receivers, not elite wide receivers, just good, solid NFL players that can play the position. And a lot of people will tell you that NFL teams can win with just good, average wide receivers. I think the Raiders are going to go more defensively in this offseason now, seeing that they have to face Russell Wilson, Justin Herbert, and Patrick Mahomes.
Station of Sports Media just became a good friend of mine. With
Chargers taking the division. Heard that
Chargers
before.
taking the division. You're welcome back anytime, my friend. Got it. We'll get it. We'll saddle you up. We got a microphone for you. You can tell us how much you love the Chargers, just like me. I don't know. The franchise tagging, all this movement, Allen Robinson. There's as much as talent as there is out there. It feels like a lot of like either unknown talent to me or players past their prime. Like when I look around at it, right? Like I'm just like, what do we know about DJ Chark? What do we know really about Allen Robinson? Two soon-to-be former Jaguars, like who just suffered under those regimes. Like,
yeah,
I look at guys like a player that I really want to come to the Chargers is Akeem Hicks. He's older. How much? Like how much can he? Like can he still play at a high level?
And I know Akeem Hicks. I wonder how much he has left. I mean, he's been through a little bit back and forth, but when he's on the field, he is a difference maker. And do you want to take that chance? And maybe he doesn't sign for as much, but I don't know.
Oh my goodness, Alex Robson in the house. What is up? What's going on with you? Alex Robson, please, wherever you are, I want the loudest cackle you can make for Jamal Adams now being left in Seattle with Russell Wilson leaving to Denver. I know that has to tickle you pink, my friend.
Let me ask you this, because since we're on the quarterback thing, we're on the free agency. So Aaron Rodgers, we already talked about staying. Russell Wilson gone. That leaves the Washington Commanders, the team that called every single team out there to ask him for a quarterback. What's their game plan going around now? Are they going to overpay for somebody? Or are they done and they have to go to the draft now?
I think they're going to go to the draft. And I think that Ron Rivera's fine with that. I think that he believes he can win games with Taylor Heineke, not a Super Bowl, but could win games and could have somebody that is sturdy and a leader. Like the people that he went after, they're pretty strong. Like, have they put in an offer for Deshaun Watson? Because bringing Deshaun Watson to Washington is just like more chaos on top of chaos. I get that he's there, but like there's like 3 different investigations going on in Washington already right now. Like Dan Schneider against, like former employees, and then these people's email, and it's crazy. So then if you brought in Deshaun Watson, does that really quiet things? Not really. I was watching before this. There's going to be some sort of mediation. We may have some answers by like Friday on future for him. As far as I am concerned, I think they should go the route where they identify the guy that they think is next for the Commanders. I got it right. In the draft, and they just be aggressive towards him because they're not going to fix it. It's not going to be like a quick turnaround unless they did get Russ, where they got Aaron Rodgers, but they didn't. Carson Wentz, trading for Wentz isn't the answer. Like, who are you going to?
Why wouldn't Jimmy G be good for the Commanders, though? I don't see you giving up multiple first-round picks. You're not giving up a ton of stuff. You're getting Jimmy G. You're getting somebody who's been there, who can bring the leadership. Yeah, he's not going to be the elite guy, but he's going to be good enough where he's going to bring something, a great quarterback presence to that room just 2 years ago, you thought Taylor Heineke was the GOAT. Like
he is the GOAT of undrafted, unsigned free agents who formerly lived with their mother and sister and sold auto insurance. He's the GOAT.
You know, but Jimmy G. That's what I don't understand. Maybe these moves today will open up the Jimmy G market, But there's two teams that I think would really benefit from a quarterback like Jimmy G. And I'm not high on Jimmy G. I'm not saying he's going to go out there and be that guy, be like the next Tom Brady, like people are saying, or even that. But I'm saying Pittsburgh Steelers and Washington Commanders, what are you doing? Jimmy G's sitting out there. You don't have to give up a lot. Go get him and bring him to your team.
I don't think that Mike Tomlin is going from Big Ben to Jimmy G. That's not the direction he wants to go in. I think Mike Tomlin, I heard somebody saying that he's resistant to change or the future or whatever. He was handcuffed. He had a Steelers legend at quarterback. He couldn't just like get rid of him. He would have been done with Roethlisberger like 48 months ago. Now he can do what he wants. I think this GM who's on his way out has said he wants to leave the team with the future at the position. I believe that's Malik Willis. I think they're going to gauge the hype on this, and we will see the Steelers do whatever they can to move up high enough to assure that they get Malik Willis. That will be like our fun watch for the draft, is like who's going to trade up. This kid's going to show out at his pro day. Everybody's going to lose their minds with him throwing it 70 yards, with him running a 40 impressively and that's where the Steelers' direction that they will go. Like maybe the Commanders get in that boat, but I think they're going to wait for somebody more like Pickett or Howell, or even just draft somebody later that they saw that. What's the other guy? Skylar something, who also did. Some other guy did well. Kansas State quarterback.
You and I and Mike have talked about the quarterbacks in this draft being underhyped, probably because there's good quarterbacks in this draft. They just didn't go to these big schools that they want to push on you. And now you're actually seeing it. And I like Willis, like you're saying. I even like Pickett. I don't like him, my team, but I can see him why people would love him in the first round. But for Pittsburgh to go and get one of those guys, they're gonna have to move up. How much are they gonna have to move up in the first round?
Yeah, but that's the thing, is that like is your option Mason Rudolph or a couple of years of Jimmy G or whatever? If that's the option, then start trading. No, start trading and getting up. Like, in Washington, you're not going Haskins. Haskins' ship has sailed. He did the guy a favor. I think Washington, I could see Ron Rivera saying we might draft a guy and we're going to bring in Teddy Bridgewater and he's going to compete with Heineke, because they still have Heineke under contract for another year, and we'll let it play out. Again, I think there's some guys that will be in this draft, quarterbacks, that are going to exceed expectations because there's no expectation. That's a good thing. Guys like Zach Wilson, crazy expectation. When he doesn't perform well in New York, it's going to be bad. Like Jacksonville, Trevor Lawrence, crazy expectation. Trey Lance, just this Super Bowl or bust expectation for these guys. Yeah. We don't even know really what they can do. Justin Fields is like flies under the radar because it's like, the Bears never have a good quarterback. Why should they have one now?
And then one of the quarterbacks to watch that I told you about the other day that people are loving on was Carson Strong, that he built his name up.
There you go.
Yeah, from Nevada. But who does he remind people of? Big Ben. So I don't know.
Yeah, I think that he wants to go a more athletic route. That's all I'm saying, is I think that Tomlin would like to have somebody that's going to be dynamic. And
you want Kenny Pickett in his small hands, Tony? Huh? 7.5 inches. That's it. That's all you get.
They're getting smaller and smaller. They're 7.5 inches now. Goodness great. How does this guy even hold a chicken nugget? I don't know, like we should have come up with a segment of like Dummy of the Week or whatever, but I'd like to talk a little bit about Calvin Ridley gambling on NFL games, because
Dummy of the Week, something like that.
And then this is one of those things where it's like, I don't believe that he's the only player who bets on the NFL or whatever. I believe he's the only player who did it from his own cell phone. Like, we're now in a place where, like, every time I open something up, they're like, do you want this to track your geographical location, or do you want to ask them? I'm just like, no, stop tracking me. Why is everybody, all the ads on my social media, they're like, they start coming in with like things I've already searched for. I'm like, no, I don't want you in here. Or they are targeted. They know I'm 39. They're trying to sell me 4 hymns like hair loss and boner medication. I'm like, I'm still healthy and young and virile.
Get your prostate checked.
What is it?
It's time to get your prostate checked, Tony.
Oh, yeah, exactly. Not looking forward to that one at all. But, like, I think that, RC responded to the JC comment. I would like to see that if we could scroll up and find that. I just want to say this about Calvin Ridley and the entire situation. I think the NFL has to find some sort of punishment that is really going to deter people from this.
Yeah.
Because we already, how many times do we talk about it where we go, oh, the NFL's rigged? Even if it's joking, we always go, oh, come on. This has to be like fixed or whatever. When players start betting on games, that adds to a narrative. It looks bad. You're making millions of dollars and then you're playing a game of chance. Like, you've already won the lottery. You've already gambled with your life. Like, a lot of guys, they don't have a ton of other skills outside of playing sports. The gamble was that they're going to be a professional athlete and be able to have a sustained life and career and generational wealth potentially if you get there and you're good enough. You've already won. Even if it's, and then it's $1,500. When he's like, it's only $1,500. I was like, dude, if you're gonna be losing all this money, tell me it was $500,000. Like, I wasn't impressed that it was only $1,500. I was like, drop a little juice and try and make some money. Like, if
they say he bet $1,500 and lost $11.1 million,
and potentially more than that, because if you look at what they said it's at least a year of suspension. At least a year.
But what was he betting on? Was it wins, losses? Is that what it was? It was win losses. I have an issue with that. I don't have a player playing prize picks, doing over and unders and using the promo code Warzone on there and getting, I don't have an issue with players doing over unders on that. I personally don't, Tony. Wins and losses, maybe, because I don't know. We're moving into a new generation where if you're throwing games, people are going to know. People already know. People already think it. I don't have an issue. What I have an issue with is the NFL suspensions and the inconsistency of all the suspensions out there. So you're telling me gambling $1,500 on NFL games on maybe your team losing because your team sucks, right? And he's like, oh, hell yeah, we're going to suck, is worse than domestic violence in 2 games, 3 games?
You're looking – okay, I'm not going to tell you how you're looking at it, but I am going to tell you you're looking at it. I'm telling you you're looking at it wrong, right? Because those things are bad and they make the NFL look bad. But gambling on football is like – it's a blemish on your sport. It makes it feel cheapened and tarnished, and that is the ultimate. Like, now you have somebody looking at football going, "Oh, I don't trust it. I don't like it. It's whatever." Yes, of course, all these other things they do off the field are bad. Beating your kids, beating your wife, assaulting strangers in nightclubs. They're all horrible things, and yes, they should be punished. Like, I agree, drinking and driving, hitting people with your car. Like, I had people like texting me privately saying like, oh, watch, the Henry Ruggs situation, watch him be back in the NFL in 2 years. And it's like, you can't, at some point you can't take things lightly. This is a situation that's like, you can't do this. You can have anybody in your family do it. You could have your cousin do it. Well, you sat there and told him what to do. It cannot be linked to you making money off of betting on football, because
to keep it strictly gambling. Like I said, if you guys want to go to download Prize Picks, use the promo code Warzone, get your $100 free, matched up. Do all that if you guys want to. But promo code Warzone. Anyways, keeping it strictly betting. Doesn't the NFL have money in DraftKings and stuff like that? Isn't that? Don't they invest money into that? Doesn't every NFL player play fantasy football or talk about fantasy football? There's all these leagues. Is that not a form of gambling?
Yeah. Okay. Here's the thing. I tell my kids all the time, hey, you can't have dessert after 9:00. I'll be sitting on the bowl with a bowl of ice cream at 9:30 on the sofa. I get to do certain things, right? So like they can make money on gambling and doing whatever. But if they tell you you cannot take part in gambling, you cannot take it. Doesn't the risk of gambling money and then like losing $11 million, it's not worth it. Like you would never do it. So like, is the rule stupid? Do I think these guys should be allowed to gamble? And I don't think that games will be fixed or rigged or whatever. Yes. I don't care that he did this. It's the fact that he did it. And now it's going to cost them a ton of money, and not even just money, like opportunity to play something that he loved. He's worked so hard to get to this point. Think of all the sacrifice you have to go through to become a professional athlete. And then you lose time, ability, talent, like sharing your gift. Like, it's just insane to me. And here's the other thing that makes it even tougher is we're going to start to get a ruling and like a little bit more clarity on the Deshaun Watson situation. Now the NFL's got to look, because they're going to have people like this saying like, oh, well, look what Deshaun Watson did, and he only got blah, 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 whatever, or he's getting time served because he was out for like. There will be so much controversy, but I think the NFL has to send a really strict thing saying like, hey, we don't accept gambling on whatever. Otherwise, you'll get more people doing the same dumb stuff and doing whatever. Like, I don't know. It's a weird situation, but I get the NFL approach to take it slowly. Maybe appeals. Yeah. Maybe it's 8 games. Maybe it's 6 games or something.
To all the NFL players out there, don't gamble. Go cheat. Do something that, deflate balls. Do something like that. You only get 4 games. If you gamble, you're going to lose the whole season. Do something. Cheat a little bit, and you get a less suspension.
Yeah, and I agree with you. Like, there's ways you could do it. I said, give the money to do it on your cousin's phone. You could still place the bets. You just can't do it from your own device.
Let me hold that money.
Yeah.
Give me that money, and I'll hold it for you.
And I would like to extend this to any Chargers looking to gamble on sports. I'm a very trustworthy guy. You will get all 40% of all the profits. I will, of course, keep 60 because it's, I'm doing all the work. But send me some dough. We'll do it. Briefcase under the 4th Street Bridge. RC, I read your comment, and I'm curious to know who that player is that he met. I think it was Sean Webb or some who's the DB. But yes, Sean Wade. I'm sorry, taking over that spot for J.C. Jackson. Because he's put me on to a couple other guys on the Patriots roster where he's like, this person's going to break it. He did it last year in the preseason with J.C. Jackson, where he said J.C. is like a top 3 corner in the NFL, and I was like, no, he's not, and he was really good. So,
has there been a cornerback that's left the Patriots recently that was dominating on the Patriots defense, left the Patriots and dominated somewhere else?
I don't believe that person exists. Maybe Asante Samuel did that. Asante Samuel Sr. did that when he went to the Eagles. He was still pretty good, I believe. But yeah, I can't really remember that happening.
It's been a while. Wade and Jonathan Jones is who's going to take over. We're running. We want to wrap this up pretty soon, right? First episode of the Sports Dummies. I'm liking it. Stephen Gilmore made the Pro Bowl with half a season this year. But who votes for the Pro Bowl? I don't. Pro Bowl.
Yeah, I was just going to say
Pro Bowl shouldn't be used as a stat. Like, people are like 12-time Pro Bowler. Yeah, but who voted for the Pro Bowls? Dumb people like me and you, Tony.
Didn't he I was just going to say, just Sports Dummies. They're the ones who vote for is a bunch of dumbos. Yeah, because he was injured and then shut it down early, I believe, at some point. Because there was a lot of heat when he got there. Yeah. So they were they started off hot, then they went downhill, and then the Sam Darnold train completely went off the rails there. I did see right before I jumped on that depending on what happens with Deshaun Watson, the leaders, the rumored in the clubhouse are the Carolina Panthers and the Buccaneers as places where he'd like to go. So that would be interesting, and I would say by the next time we come on, we're gonna have some more information on that.
And here's another thing for the next time we come on. Rumor is people are calling the Carolina Panthers about Christian McCaffrey, and they want a first-round pick and a player. And then Barkley. What are the New York Giants going to do with Barkley? And I sent you a thing the other day that said consensus is that they're only getting offered fourth-round picks for him. So we'll see what happened to him, and can he be considered a bust at any time?
I don't think CMC's a bust, but like fourth round pick, if I'm Carolina, I'm just hanging on to him. Because
you're talking about Barkley. Sorry.
Oh, Saquon Barkley. I'm sorry. I thought you said CMC.
Well, Barkley's going for a fourth round pick. CMC's going for they want a first round pick and a player.
Yeah, then I would think about that. I would, depending on who the player was, right? Especially if it's if I could get back proven veteran, maybe aging talent or something, I'd consider that because the injuries are concerning there. So Mike and none are really arguing about this. They're like really arguing for Stephon Gilmore being a Pro Bowl player. It's a popularity contest.
It is in every sport.
Yeah, and which is fine, and that means that he's popular. But if you went back and looked at it, in the fact that he was injured half the year, like, how do you put somebody on the Pro Bowl who plays 7-8 games? That cheapens the award for the other guys. So you're saying good players can make the Pro Bowl, they only have to play part-time? Not in my book, but sure, I get it.
Let's just say, Tony, if you were in the NFL, I'm your friend, I would vote for you 25 times and try to get you in. You know what I mean?
Like, I would love to be introduced as Tony Tucker, former one-time Pro Bowl player.
Tony Tucker.
I would go with former Pro Bowler. So it's kind of, it's a little, you don't know how many times that was. It doesn't matter that it was only once. Former Pro Bowler. That's what it is. It's not purely a popularity contest. They have to be good too.
Or had to be good. They had to be good at one point where people remember their name.
Sure.
Sorry.
Well, what I'm saying is, yes, you have to be good, but part of being good is being available and being consistent. And so, like, you could be good for a short spurt. Kyler Murray is very good for about 8 games. And then he gets a high ankle sprain or something, and he's not very good after that. So, like, and I think he made the Pro Bowl this year too. Like, you still have to be putting in time and work along with just being good for a short period of time. Because if you want somebody on your team that's good for 6 or 7 games, it's not going to be a great thing for your teammate. That's why I'm not super psyched about Mike Williams. That's right. All right, let's wrap it up. We're about to hit the hour mark. Appreciate all the new people that swung by the initial episode of Sports Dummies. Please hit that subscribe button. Stay in the comments. We love interacting. Subscribe on all the podcast platforms. Joe and I are going to try and do this show, put out a new episode, whether it is live or pre-recorded, every Friday around 4-ish. We'll lock that time in. But if you hit the notifications, you'll just know when we're live. Like we said, we'll put in podcast form so you can listen, enjoy. We appreciate your time, your comments, and concerns here at the Warzone Sports Network. I'm sure there's other great shows actually going on right now, so you could just switch over and you could yell at them. You could say nice things to them. We prefer yelling, but we get it. Joe, anything I forgot? Anything you want to add before we get out of here?
That's it. Hopefully the NFL news keeps breaking and all the way up until the draft is going to be interesting. We always hate when the NFL football stops, but we love the news and the rumors that go around with it.
Love it. What is this? Last thing right here in 20 seconds. You take a team full of no Pro Bowlers, and I'll take a team with all Pro Bowlers, and we'll see which team wins. Yep, and you get a team full of Pro Bowlers that only played 6 games. I'm going to have a healthy team, and you're not, and I'm going to win. So I'll take the Detroit Lions, and you can have a team that only plays 6 games, and I'll take the Fighting Goffs and Dan Campbell's.
All right, for the Sports Dummies, I'm Joe Morley. That's Tony Tucker. We're out of here. Thanks, guys.
Dumbo, fly like a dummy.